Survival games can mean a lot of things: gritty realism, quiet exploration, tense decision making, or just punching trees until you've built a fortress. Whether you're here for the stress, the systems, or the stories, the Nintendo Switch has quietly built one of the most varied survival libraries out there. And this list today, it's 25 of the best survival games available right now on Nintendo Switch 1 and Switch 2. Now, it's not in any particular order except for the final 3 games. They're my personal favorites. But if you do enjoy this, do me a favor, hit subscribe. Helps a small channel like mine a huge amount. And we've got new content here daily. Reviews, deals, lists, all that good stuff focused purely on Switch. All right, let's get into it. Subnautica drops you onto an alien ocean planet after a crash landing with nothing but a life pod and a handful of blueprints. It is a traditional survival game. Scavenge materials, manage hunger and oxygen, and slowly expand your reach by crafting better gear and underwater bases. The tension, though, comes not just from managing resources, but from the predators lurking in the deep. Now, it's not the hardest survival game, but it punishes carelessness and rewards planning. If you want clean, systems-driven survival without filler, I think this is it. Also the sequel, Below Zero, also on Switch, just as strong. The flame in the flood sends you drifting down a ruined river system after some kind of societal collapse. You're playing as a girl named Scout and her loyal dog. Now you're following a faint radio signal. You're hoping it leads somewhere safe. In gameplay, it's a traditional survival game. Track hunger, thirst, body temperature, and then craft supplies while stopping at procedurally generated outposts to rest, cook, and repair gear. The twist, though, is momentum. The river always pulls you forward, and once you pass something, you can't go back. That one-way pressure gives it a tense, roguelike rhythm that sets it apart from slower survival loops. Now, it's light on dialogue, but heavy on mood. It's one of the more focused and quietly emotional survival games on Switch. Darkwood strands you in a cursed forest during a mysterious lockdown with no map, no guidance, and no safe place to rest. It is a slow, top-down survival horror game built around scavenging by day and barricading yourself in at night, simply hoping you survive until morning. Now, resources are limited, threats are vague but constant, and the game tells you almost nothing. The narrative itself unfolds through dreamlike sequences, strange characters, and cryptic choices, leaving you really unsure what is real. It's brutal, even on normal difficulty, and a permadeath mode is there if you really want to suffer. It is one of the most atmospheric and unnerving survival games on Switch. Crash lands you on a bizarre alien planet after a delivery run gone wrong. You're armed with nothing but sarcasm and a crafting menu. Now, it is a survival RPG at heart, this one. Gather resources, build a base, and fight off wildlife while completing story-driven quests. There's no hunger or thirst to manage, but the depth comes from its crafting systems, gear upgrades, and fast-paced combat. The world, though, is bright, weird, and packed with all sorts of unique creatures. But it's leaning more into action than tension. So yeah, it's not a hardcore survival challenge, but it's deep, satisfying, and refreshingly streamlined. It's perfect if you want survival with structure and a whole heap of personality. The survivalists set you loose on a procedurally generated island after a shipwreck, where survival means crafting tools, managing hunger, and training monkeys to help you build. They'll be gathering equipment, gathering supplies, and also fighting alongside you. It's a lighter, more playful take on the genre, with up to 4-player co-op and even dungeon crawling tucked into the mix. I think this is a great one for beginners. It's approachable, it's charming, and it's full of smart automation features. The only downside is the base raids, which hit often and they can tear through your hard work in seconds. Still, look, if you're after a casual survival loop you can play with friends and it's got a ton of creativity, I think this one really holds up. Sheltered starts after a nuclear apocalypse with you managing a family hidden in a small underground bunker. It's a traditional survival game. Scavenge supplies, manage hunger, thirst, radiation levels, and gradually you'll upgrade your shelter to stay alive just that little bit longer. You'll send family members out into hostile wastelands, you'll fend off intruders, and you'll maintain vital systems like oxygen and water filters. The pressure builds constantly with this one, and mistakes spiral fast. It's not action-driven, but it's one of the most brutal survival sims on Switch. That is, if you don't mind slow, stressful, systems-first survival with an incredibly grim edge. Yeah, this one really delivers. Terraria throws you into a randomly generated 2D world with nothing but a copper pickaxe and endless possibilities. It's a survival sandbox at its core, so chop trees, dig deep and craft shelter, that is before nightfall when monsters appear. Hunger and thirst, they're not factors, but survival comes from preparation, gear progression, and managing ever tougher enemies as this world just evolves. Expect to build bases, fight massive bosses, and uncover dozens of biomes above and below ground. Now, not the harshest survival game, but the sheer scale and depth makes it one of the most replayable. I think it is a genre classic that holds up on Switch. Green Howler puts you in the role of a researcher stranded deep in the Amazon after a mission with your partner. It goes terribly wrong. Basically now you're trying to find her. It is a full-on survival sim. Track your nutrition, fend off parasites, patch wounds, and monitor your mental health as the jungle turns against you. You'll craft tools from sticks and stones, build shelter from leaves, and fight to stay sane while piecing together what happened. It is one of the most challenging survival games on Switch, and while it still looks rough, Switch 2 offers decent gains in performance and clarity when docked. It is overall, though, brutal, immersive, and yeah, even if it's ugly, it's worth the effort. Astroneer sends you to the surface of a distant, uncharted planet as part of a deep space exploration program. Armed with a terrain tool and limited oxygen, you'll mine resources, scope landscapes, and build out your base piece by piece. It is a survival sandbox with no hunger, enemies, or hard fail states, just pure exploration, system-driven building, and the challenge of staying tethered to oxygen. Eventually, you'll craft vehicles and launch to entirely new planets, each with their own conditions and resources. It is honestly one of the most forgiving games on the list today, but the creative freedom makes it stand out, and a sequel was announced for Switch 2. Tribes of Midgard throws you into a mythological Norse realm where survival mode, it challenges you to gather resources, craft tools and defenses, and protect the seed from nightly hordes. Saga mode, the main option for the game, is a kind of like roguelite tower defense twist, but survival mode, it's more open-ended and it's focused on exploration, base building, and gear progression. There's no hunger or thirst, but you'll still track temperature in extreme biomes and upgrade armor to survive the cold or heat. It shines in multiplayer with co-op scaling systems and personal loot that reward teamwork. So yeah, with this one, it's kind of like survival adjacent, more about action and structure than pure environmental struggle. But I still think it's a great pick if you want a simplistic communal survival journey with, yeah, I guess mythic flair. Smoke and Sacrifice begins with a mother sacrificing her child to a mysterious temple, only to question that decision and follow him into an underground world filled with decay, strange tech, and rotting nature. It's a survival game built into a narrative RPG to gather materials, manage light sources to survive deadly smoke, and craft gear while uncovering the truth behind the ritual. Now, you'll deal with hunger, hostile creatures, and limited resources, but the pacing is more quest-driven than open-ended. Again, because of that, it's not the toughest survival game here, but it keeps you under pressure, especially when the smoke rolls in. Also, it's just a really bleak, kind of story-heavy take on the genre. Breath Edge hurls you into deep space after a catastrophic shuttle explosion. It leaves you floating in zero gravity with a spacesuit, a chicken, and a whole lot of junk to sort through. It is a traditional survival game with a solid sense of humour, but expect to be managing oxygen, hunger, and cold while scavenging wreckage and crafting better tools to explore further into the debris field. The systems are tight, progression is rewarding, and on Switch it runs and looks surprisingly great. Now, there is a story, and early on it balances humour and tension well, but later updates took a wrong turn, with the final chapters shifting into kind of almost a clunky first-person shooter-esque experience. Still though, look, for the survival portion alone, this game, worth it. Windbound casts you as a warrior shipwrecked on a series of mysterious islands, armed with only a knife and the will to survive. It is a survival adventure game. Gather materials, cook food, craft weapons, and then build a sailboat to explore the next stretch of ocean. This one, my only complaint is the structure stays pretty basic. Each chapter repeats the same loop with slight variations. It looks good as well, it has moments of calm, there's open exploration, but it just never quite manages to deliver the depth of freedom the premise initially suggested. I think it also suffered because it drew comparisons to Zelda at launch because of those visuals. But yeah, look, gameplay to Zelda, not comparable. I'd say for survival, it's not bad overall, but more of an entry-level survival game, and that's why I'm featuring it today. It's a really good starting point. Dismantle drops you into a post-apocalyptic world after years spent in an underground shelter with no guidance and no one left alive, or at least not in a human form. It's a survival action game. Scavenge materials, upgrade tools and craft gear while slowly clearing out a massive open map. There's no hunger or thirst to manage, but combat, exploration and base building all kind of feed into the loop. And the hook here though, it's the destruction. Cars, fences, buildings, nearly everything can be broken down for parts. It's more structured and less punishing than traditional survival games, but incredibly satisfying to play with that kind of dismantling of objects loop. Yeah, if you like progression through grinding and smashing, this one hits the spot. Survival Kids is the only game on this list I haven't played, which is why it's here more as a nod than a recommendation. It's a brand new Switch title though, with a survival setup, so the idea is you're stranded on a turtle-shaped island with up to 3 other players, but from everything I've seen, it leans more toward kid-friendly adventure than full survival. You know, there's light crafting, stamina-based food use, and puzzle solving, but no real danger or resource pressure. I still wanted to include it though, because maybe you're after something more relaxed, or extremely relaxed in this case, or maybe you want to introduce a younger player to the genre, because let's face it, survival games aren't the most accessible, so this is great to see for a younger audience. So yeah, if you're looking for a co-op survival light with training wheels, this actually might be a very good entry point. Core Keeper drops you into a massive underground world after a mysterious force pulls you below the surface with no explanation. It is a co-op survival adventure, so mine resources, grow food, craft tools, and build out your base while powering up the ancient core at the center of the map. Hunger is a constant pressure, and enemies get tougher the further you explore, especially once bosses start entering the mix. It's playable solo, but clearly designed with multiplayer in mind, and the mix of farming, combat, and progression makes it incredibly addictive. It's a perfect pick if you want survival with long-term goals, so think almost a Terraria-style loop. Rain World throws you into the ruins of a dying ecosystem as a lone slug cat, separated from your family and hunted by everything that moves. It's not a traditional survival game. There's no crafting, no inventory, no base building, but staying alive in this game is a constant struggle. You'll scavenge just enough food to hibernate, fight intelligent predators, and learn the world through trial, error, and death. The systems here are opaque. The AI is reactive, and every step outside your shelter carries real risk. It's one of the most punishing and rewarding survival experiences out there, even if it definitely plays at times by its own rules. Now, I will say on the Switch 1, there's a few performance quirks. Switch 2 corrects those. Don't Starve drops you into a hostile, hand-drawn wilderness with nothing but your curiosity and a growing sense of dread. It's all very Tim Burton. It's a traditional survival game, so gathering food, crafting tools, managing hunger and sanity. But yeah, simply, overall, trying to survive as long as you can before something inevitably, in this world definitely, goes wrong. Every character though plays differently, and the world is full of strange creatures, seasonal changes, and systems that interact in actually surprising ways. It's harsh, stylish, and intentionally obscure, but once it clicks, it's one of the deepest survival loops around. The co-op follow-up as well, Don't Starve Together. It's also worth a look, though I will say here it's much better on other platforms. I probably wouldn't suggest the Switch build. Minecraft drops you into a randomly generated blocky world with no tools, no guidance, and one goal: survive. In survival mode, you'll manage health, hunger, and inventory while gathering resources, crafting shelter, and fending off creatures that come out at night. Now, farming, mining, cooking, and building, they all feed into your survival loop, and despite the simple visuals, there's endless depth if you let it kind of get its hooks in. I actually finally played this properly for the first time in the past year, and yeah, it is pretty damn addictive. If you've only ever seen the creative side, which was really kind of the case for me over the years, survival mode is actually a real gem. Skyrim Anniversary Edition gives you the full RPG sandbox and the optional survival mode, which turns the experience into something much more focused and punishing. You'll need to eat to restore stamina, sleep to level up, and stay warm in cold climates or risk freezing to death in the mountains. There's no fast travel either, gear must be managed carefully, and even a simple trip between towns becomes something you actually need to plan for. It's not a traditional survival game, but with these modifiers on, it definitely leans towards playing like one. So if you've played Skyrim before, survival mode makes it feel fresh again all these years later. Ark Survival Evolved wakes you up naked on a mysterious island filled with dinosaurs where survival means crafting, hunting, and staying one step ahead of the ecosystem, or at least taming it. It's a full survival sim. Manage hunger, thirst, temperature, and weight while building bases and slowly expanding your tech tree from sticks to sci-fi. When it first launched on Switch, it was barely playable, but the Ultimate Survivor Edition update, that was completely free by the way, for the base game, turned it around. It improved visuals, performance, they even added DLC. Now, it's still chaotic and clunky in places, but if you want hardcore survival with dinos, PvE or PvP, this is the option. And now we head into my personal top 4, it turns out, because I couldn't choose just 3. We're starting with the Pale Beyond, which took me completely by surprise. Now, you're the first mate aboard the Temperance, part of an Antarctic expedition sent to find its missing sister ship, the Viscount. That one disappeared years ago. But after the Temperance becomes trapped in ice and the captain vanishes, you're forced to take command and lead the crew through brutal conditions with dwindling food, fuel, and morale. Now, it's a single-player, narrative-heavy survival game. No crafting or combat, just hard choices and tense resource management. Expect to ration food, assign crew, manage, opinions, and decide who gets fed or even who flees when disaster strikes. It is text-heavy and incredibly immersive. I'd actually love to see a Switch 2 upgrade as well with mouse-style controls. It would work perfectly here. But yeah, for me, one of the best survival experiences you can play on Switch. This war mine puts you in charge of a group of civilians trapped in a war-torn city trying to survive until a ceasefire. It's a traditional survival game. Manage food, medicine, and morale, while scavenging buildings at night and defending your shelter by day. But what sets it apart is the emotional weight. You'll make brutal choices. You'll ration scraps and deal with trauma as much as starvation. The visuals are bleak, the pace is slow, and the consequences with this one, they hit incredibly hard. It is not a power fantasy, it's survival as suffering. This one, for me, it's a masterpiece and one of the most important games on this list. The Long Dark then is incredible. I've played it ever since launch across both the traditional survival mode and the episodic story mode, which is still being updated now. Now, it's set in the frozen Canadian wilderness. There's this mysterious geomagnetic disaster, and yeah, you're part of a plane crash. But it is one of the most grounded, atmospheric survival games ever made. In survival mode, there's no zombies or monsters, just cold, hunger, wildlife, and your own mistakes. It's realistic with almost this cartoonesque visual style. But yeah, you'll scavenge, hunt, boil water, and pray for warmth as you push deeper into a world that basically does not care if you make it. A story mode then adds characters and scripted events, but it keeps the same brutal edge. What I like about story mode is it's a very good introduction to a bit more of a hardcore survival experience. Overall though, it's kind of slow, quiet, but extremely punishing, and that's exactly why it sticks with you. It's what kept me coming back. So yeah, if you want pure isolating survival, I think this one is basically the gold standard. No Man's Sky then takes the #1 spot, not just because of its sheer scale, but because the free Switch 2 upgrade is one of the most impressive technical feats on the system. You're dropped on a random alien planet here with all sorts of things, toxic storms, hostile creatures, and basically no way off-world until you craft, repair, and survive your way forward. It is a system-heavy survival game. Manage oxygen, shields, fuel, temperature, inventory, and more, all while scanning wildlife, mining resources, and eventually, in the first couple of hours, launching into space. There are hundreds of planets, full co-op support, base building, space combat, and endless upgrades. And now on Switch 2, it runs smoothly, looks sharp, and finally delivers the experience handheld players were waiting for. The scope for me with this game is still jaw-dropping, and the survival loop as strong as ever. And that is 25 survival games you should consider checking out on Switch, and I think there's a little something here for every type of player. But with that, look, thanks for watching. If I missed your favorite, let me know in the comments. And if you are new here, hit subscribe for more reviews, deals, news, basically all things Switch and Switch 2. You'll find it here. All right, I'll see you in the next one. Cheers on.